There are things you do every single day with your dog that feel completely normal, yet some of those behaviors are quietly changing how your dog experiences you without you realizing it. Nothing dramatic happens in those moments, there is no obvious reaction or clear sign that something is wrong, which is exactly why they go unnoticed for so long. But over time, these small actions begin to shift how your dog interprets your presence, your consistency, and your reliability. And once that shift begins, it changes more than just behavior, it changes how your dog feels around you. One of the most common moments happens when you call your dog and then don't follow through consistently, where sometimes you reward the response and other times you ignore it or change direction. From your perspective it feels harmless, but from your dog's perspective it creates uncertainty around what your voice actually means. The sound becomes less predictable, which weakens the clarity of the interaction. And that small inconsistency slowly reshapes how your dog responds over time. Another moment appears when physical affection happens on your terms but not always on your dog's, especially when your dog is resting or disengaged, when you suddenly initiate contact. To you it feels like bonding, but to your dog it can interrupt a state of calm or awareness that it was maintaining. The contact itself is not the issue, but the timing of it changes how it is experienced. And repeated enough times, it can create subtle tension instead of connection. There are also times when your emotional tone shifts quickly without your dog understanding why, where you move from calm to frustration in a way that feels justified to you but unpredictable to your dog. Dogs do not interpret language the way you do, they interpret patterns and consistency in behavior and tone. When that pattern changes suddenly, it creates confusion rather than correction. And confusion is one of the fastest ways to weaken clarity in your interaction. Now consider moments when your dog approaches you and you are distracted, where you respond partially or not at all while focused on something else. From your perspective you are just busy, but from your dog's perspective the interaction is incomplete. It initiated connection and did not receive a clear response. And over time, those incomplete interactions begin to affect how often it chooses to engage. There are also situations where you correct behavior after a delay, where the dog has already moved on from the action but the correction still comes. To you the behavior is still connected, but to your dog the timing no longer aligns. This creates a disconnect between action and consequence. And that disconnect reduces clarity rather than improving it. Another common pattern appears in how routines are handled, where small inconsistencies build over time without being obvious in any single moment. Feeding times shift, walking patterns change, responses vary depending on your mood or schedule. Each change feels minor on its own, but together they create a pattern that lacks stability. And dogs rely heavily on that stability to understand their environment. There are also moments when your dog looks at you for direction and you respond differently each time, sometimes guiding clearly and other times hesitating or reacting inconsistently. Your dog is constantly observing how you respond in these situations. When the response changes, it begins to rely less on your direction and more on its own decisions. And that shift happens gradually, without a clear moment you can point to. What makes all of this difficult to recognize is that none of these actions feel harmful in isolation, because they are part of normal daily interaction. There is no single moment where something breaks or changes dramatically. Instead, the shift happens slowly through repetition and pattern. And by the time it becomes noticeable, it has already been building for a while. Your dog does not evaluate you based on intention, it evaluates based on consistency and predictability over time. It is not reacting to what you mean, but to what you repeatedly show. That means small variations in behavior carry more weight than most people realize. And those variations shape how your dog experiences you every day. Once you begin to see these patterns, the interaction changes immediately because you start noticing timing, tone, and consistency in a way you didn't before. You begin to recognize which moments create clarity and which ones create uncertainty. That awareness alone starts to shift how your dog responds to you. And it creates a more stable interaction without needing dramatic changes. Because the goal is not perfection, it is consistency in how your dog experiences you across repeated interactions. When your behavior becomes more predictable, your dog becomes more stable in its responses. That stability strengthens the connection in a way that feels natural rather than forced. And it builds a relationship that is easier for your dog to understand. The next time you interact with your dog, you will start to notice these small moments that used to pass without attention. You will see how timing changes meaning and how consistency shapes response. You will recognize that what feels minor to you can feel significant to your dog. And that awareness is what separates surface interaction from real understanding.